morning.
Morning.
As we gather here, let us remember that we live, work, and worship on the unceded ancestral homeland of the Ramaytush Ohlone peoples. The Ramaytush Ohlone understand the interconnectedness of all things and maintained respect and harmony with nature for centuries. As Swedenborgians, we share this conviction. We acknowledge the Ramaytush Ohlone peoples for their enduring commitment and stewardship, past, present, and future, of these lands.
Morning. How are you today? Hey, we're here. Welcome you all. Glad you made it. Let us stand and say hi to each other. You know, you can wave your hand, you can shake your hands. As you're done, please be seated. An announcement. One thing that's not written in here, I'd like to announce. Actually, it's not here, so two probably. Bible study started with Jeremiah. It'll be 7 weeks in series. So 6 weeks more. I will be reading chapters in Jeremiah. It's a Swedenborgian Bible study, so it has some symbolic explanation about what text means. And another one is we have something called Marriage Sunday, celebrations of marriage, which will be in March 1st, 4 p.m. So all the couples are married at the church, or you're married, you want to come with your spouse, you're welcome to do so. And Lori Carson has an announcement.
Good morning. I just wanted to say a few words about our 2026 pledge drive, or what I like to consider is our stewardship effort. And I'll keep these short because many of you have already received the letter in the mail or read about it in the e-newsletter or have heard us talk about it these last couple of Sundays. And if I think about stewardship and needed to come up with one word, I would say stewardship means gratitude. Gratitude to God for providing us with everything that we have in our life. And in the past, I used to think stewardship primarily meant a polite way of asking for financial support, and that talking about pledging time and talents was just an afterthought. But as I thought about it more, stewardship is really a lifestyle that is based on gratitude, and expressing it by giving back is one of the ways that we can show this. And so it's a way of, stewardship to me is a way of seeing and being in this world that has us acknowledge that everything that we have is a gift from God, and that sharing it with others is what brings us some joy. And it isn't so much about what the church needs to receive, but more about what we as individuals need to give. And stewardship isn't something that just happens. It is something that is planned and thought about and is intentional. And so to that end, we do ask that we invite you to fill out a pledge form indicating the ways that you would like to participate more fully in the congregational activities by identifying the talents and the talents and time that you have, and also your financial support. And I would just end by saying that we all have something to give, and we all can do something to help out our church our community and the world. And the good news is God appreciates whatever we give, and He meets us where we're at.
Thank you, Lori. Anyone has like urgent announcements to make today? Well, if not, I invite you all to fellowship after the service. There will be a birthday celebration for someone. Okay, now let us quiet our minds a little bit. Let us refocus into this space. And as I will be opening the Bible, it is our invitation to the divine to be present within us, around us. Probably many things were in your mind before entering this space, and I kindly suggest you leave them outside or push them to the side at the moment, and to be fully present in this space at this moment. And if there's a door to your mind, this time I would suggest you open it and send an invitation to your Creator. And let what God has provided for you come into you. Well, today's text will be a little bit challenging for you, just like Susan was saying that she was struggling with it. One thing that I would like to lead you in today's contemplation and meditation is in a way about shame, guilt, making mistakes. I think it is a little bit larger in the Western community versus Eastern community, the sense of shame and guilt. Is it cultural? Is it historical? Is it religious? Or is it from your own mind? I can guarantee you that is it not from God. That I can guarantee you. Neither from Bible either. If you think otherwise, check your Bible very carefully today or in this year and come back to me if there's any phrase in the Bible that likes to condemn you, shame you, and put you into guilt. It's actually not there. So where do they come from? Why are we struggling about them? And then there is associated feelings when we have shame, guilt, sometimes anger, sometimes the despair, sometimes it's other things. And where are they coming from? I don't have any answers, as probably you may assume, because from all the studies that I have done and still doing, the only answer that is powerful to us is the answer we find by ourselves. So I am only suggesting you to look into it, reflect upon it, and hopefully find a way to understand, maneuver, even master it by yourself. So, first is, I'm happy that James was willing and available to play for this morning. Blue was going to play this morning, and Blue sent me last minute email. He had like spinal problem and he has issues. And he moved away kind of farther away, so driving like a long distance is very challenging. So we'll have him one of those days, but it's good to have James. James is wonderful, yes. So, with James's beautiful piano music, I invite you to have a moment of meditation with music. This time, if I may describe, it's like emptying your mind. So that's why I was suggesting that just simply pay attention to the rhythm and the music itself and go with it. Try not to think. Try not to think. Like, if you have your thoughts, let it be. Just focus on the music itself. Something comes to your mind, just let it be. Do not try to take it away, reject it, remove it. Like, think, oh, I'm thinking again, I'm doing wrong. Like, please don't do that. Just focus, refocus on the music so that you follow the music. Can we do that? Awesome. Close your eyes now.
These stories from the Bible this morning sound very harsh in our hearing. Listen for the connections between the two texts. The connections I took were: do not leave negative feelings unresolved in your relationships, and put things right with your siblings, your parents, your neighbors, your colleagues, before you seek God's blessing. In Genesis, I ask myself, why did God not regard Cain's offering? As a parent and grandparent, I saw a teaching moment in this story. An opportunity to help Cain understand the flaws in his offering and to help the brothers be reconciled. Instead, God judged Cain and declined his offering. God moved to judge him, and as the story reads, the consequences were grave. Here is the text. Now the man knew his wife Eve, a familiar euphemism, and she conceived and bore Cain, saying, I have produced a man with the help of the Lord. I have produced. Next she bore his brother Abel. Now Abel was a keeper of sheep, and Cain a tiller of the ground. And the Lord had regard for Abel and his offering, but for Cain and his offering he had no regard. So Cain was very angry, and his countenance fell. The Lord said to Cain, why are you angry, and why has your countenance fallen? If you do well, will you not be accepted? And if you do not do well, sin is lurking at the door. Its desire is for you, but you must master it. Cain said to his brother Abel, let us go out to the field. And when they were in the field, Cain rose up against his brother and killed him. Then the Lord said to Cain, ingenuously, where is your brother Abel? He said, I do not know. Am I my brother's keeper? And the Lord said, what have you done? Listen, your brother's blood is crying out to me from the ground, and now you are cursed from the ground, which has opened its mouth to receive your brother's blood from your hand. When you till the ground, it will no longer yield to you its strength. You will be a fugitive and wanderer on the earth. Cain said to the Lord, my punishment is greater than I can bear. Today you have driven me away from the soil, and I shall be hidden from your face. I shall be a fugitive and a wanderer on the earth, and anyone who meets me may kill me. Then the Lord said to him, not so. Whoever kills Cain will suffer a sevenfold vengeance. And the Lord put a mark on Cain so that no one who came upon him would kill him. Then Cain went away from the presence of the Lord and settled in the land of Nod, east of Eden. Nod in Hebrew, I read, means to wander. And east of Eden, of course, is away from the garden. Who knows? If God had responded more understandingly to Cain's insufficiencies, if he had reconciled the brothers, helped them understand things, might Abel never have been killed. Anyway, it's a question in my mind. In Matthew, for us, while failing to treat others with respect and generosity, and to put things right with our own before coming to God, may not result in a prison sentence, as this text suggests in ancient Palestine. But unresolved feelings of estrangement can become a kind of personal prison. Here is the text in Matthew. You have heard that it was said to those of ancient times, "You shall not murder, and whoever murders shall be liable to judgment." But I say to you that if you are angry with a brother or a sister, you will be liable to judgment, and if you insult a brother or sister, you will be liable to the council. And if you say, "You fool," you will be liable to the hell of fire. So when you are offering your gift at the altar, if you remember that your brother or sister has something against you, leave your gift there before the altar and go. First be reconciled to your brother or sister, and then come and offer your gift. Come to terms quickly with your accuser while you are on the way to court with him, or your accuser may hand you over to the judge, and the judge to the guard, and you will be thrown into prison. Truly I tell you, you will never get out until you have paid the last penny.
Thank you, Susan, and I hear your questions. The Genesis chapter 4 story about Cain and Abel is loaded story, which has actually even like 3 or 4 major points in it too. One of them is sibling kind of rivalry. But that's the least one, in a way. Why? Because there's no mom and dad. Mom and dad are not in the story at all. Isn't that interesting, though? Adam and Eve, does not appear at all in this particular story. Like as if they gave birth to them and it's just 2 of them later somehow. Another aspect, if I may, kind of give it to your mind as an information. Who do you think was telling this story, if this story was told by someone? If you take the story as it is, it might have been Cain, actually, because he's the only one who is alive here. I mean, God doesn't really tell human beings about, this is the story how I talked to Cain and Abel, right? And also, all and any communication between God and human in the Bible is usually reconstructed by human side, because it has been known in many occasions, especially very clearly with Moses, God does not speak human language. God doesn't speak human language. That's why prophets, they see it in a dream, in a vision, images. And interpretation on what that means usually was actually the prophetic job in a way. So one thing that we need to understand whenever we read this Old Testament, all these stories are actually reconstructed by human beings to the way that it made sense to them. Though within that there are these key points that is a good lesson to all of us. Like even we live 4,000 years later, 5,000 years later, still we can relate to it. So one thing that I would like to kind of let you to think is that read the story again, but not as probably as a human grandmother or a human father, as looking at like my own children. That's not the approach here. And it is more likely, one of the bigger motive is about, it is ancient struggle and battle between the farmers and the nomads, the city dwellers and the shepherding people, wandering people. And they were struggling forever, basically. And there were a lot of battles fought between them. But that's kind of historical background. What connects to you today's point that I would love to share with you is the point about, God somehow talks to Cain. There is a point, if you really think about it. God was actually telling Cain what happened, even from Cain's perspective. And we don't know what it means you didn't do well. It's actually up to the interpretation. But one thing we can be sure is that Cain knew what that meant. He didn't argue about it. It goes into further is that the word sin is actually one of the major points in here. And sin is the word that none of you like. Just like the word evil, somehow my Western friends do not like those two words. Like evil, no. Bad or not good, that's not called evil. And sin is something else. Bible, Old Testament, the word sin is a noun that is from a verb, and that verb means missing mark, being led astray. That's what to sin means, basically. So it's not like how we understand these days. However, now if you read that context, the sin is lurking at the door, right? At the door. So even if we make a mistake, we are being, led astray, or, yes, we ended up doing something wrong. But that's outside, not inside, if you think about it. In a symbolic way of saying it's at the door means what? It's outside of you still. It's not in your room. And statement still is that its desire is for you, but you must master it. It's very symbolically compacted expression, but in my understanding, what God is trying to send a message with this is that even the anger that could cause us to kill someone, we have power to maneuver it if we're willing to. It's given to us. Yes, when it arises, right? When we make a mistake. I mean, I have made some mistakes in my life. And the first reaction is what? I didn't do it. No, that didn't happen. And the next is, not my fault. It's your fault. But that made me to do it. I mean, we do many things, but it took me a while to simply just say, yeah, my bad. I made a mistake. Sorry about that. Just accepting it, like, took me a long time to get there. So, when we are denying it, what happens? We have all other feelings, emotions arising in our mind, and one of them could be anger. And when that anger drives us, we do pretty stupid things. And later we regret them. God is not talking about that we have anger and we could do bad things. That's like graphically very striking, so we focus on that. But the words kind of within it is that when even that's happening, being a human means you are endowed with this ability and power that you can still calm yourself down. If you are willing and wanting, you can master it. Master in Hebrew words means rule or govern. So the word master is a little bit kind of too strong in a way, but you can rule it, you can govern it. Meaning you can put into your own way of rules and territories and let it not run over you. So, yes, Susan, so in this text, what God is telling entire humanity is that many times we blame our emotions that because of that I was helpless, I had to do it. And God's saying, actually, no. If you were willing, you could have ruled over it. But we are not willing to do that. That's one of our deepest challenge and also a problem. And yet, on the other side of it, we know what we did. You see? Because God enabled most of us, all of us, something called conscience. I mean, unless you are really raised in very restricted and brainwashing community like North Korea, but still, even like we South Koreans receive people escaping from North Korea, and they have conscience. They have morality. They have ethics, good ones. Even they were brainwashed since they were born. There's something strong about in our core if we're paying attention to it. So the question God is raising here with this story, again, it looks like God's cursing Cain, but no. If you read it, like you shed the blood, if you shed innocent blood to the ground, that's your working place. then there's a curse from the ground. Is it God cursing Cain? No. If you read the text carefully, God's simply stating as a consequence. And sadly, truthfully, any mistake we make, there is a consequence. I mean, right? Mistake is a mistake. Unintentional, it doesn't matter, right? There's a mistake, then there's a consequence. So after we make a mistake, how do you do the damage control? That's what God's also asking. And God didn't kill Cain, actually. God made a protection mark. So unlike Western legend that the mark on Cain's forehead was a curse, no, it was actually protection. If you read the text carefully, yes. And he went away. He was a wanderer, but he went away. But he settled. And if you read more, he built a city. Had a wife, and built a city, had a family, and had a good life. It's in the Bible too. So, God is not delivering it's okay to kill and just run away and God's loving you still. No, right? There are consequences for all that we do. But at the same time, if you feel the shame and the guilt, in a way, Cain was not actually, sadly, not saying that I'm sorry for what I have done. He never said that. He never did. So, where does it come from when you feel shame and guilt? How long should you feel that way? And again, I guarantee you, God forgave you already. Even God was protecting Cain. God's business is not about actually judging or punishing. God always is on the side of helping each individual the way they could do the journey properly. But there's a big but, is always God points out whenever we make a mistake, God tells us there is a consequence for that mistake. And you have to own it. Because that's my mistake, right? And that's my consequence. So, this story, again, has many other angles on it. But let us just simply focus on this major point. One, God is never talking about something that's unforgivable, unremovable. Sin is a mistake that we make. It does not stick to you forever. There's a way to remove it. And two, the sources, the emotions that we feel like so powerful that causes us to make these mistakes, if we're willing, there is a power within us and way to maneuver them, govern them. The question that we ask is, am I willing to do that? And if also we're willing to take accountability, accept the consequence of my own mistake, then it's done right there. It doesn't go forever. So, Cain and Abel's story. Let us have a moment of reflection with James's music. And again, I'm not inviting you to go into the negative side of looking into the mistakes you make and all the shames and guilt you may feel. That's not helpful. That's not what God's telling us either. Instead, let us look into our hearts and minds and simply look what's making us heavier. And what should I do to move away from, to liberate myself from it? And perhaps you can ask God, what should I do? If you feel heaviness in your heart. So let us close our eyes. in the story of Cain and Abel, Cain is actually main character. And it is actually a story about Cain and God. If you check them again. Cain and God, that's their story. It's Cain's relationship with God. And in a way, your life also is about your relationship with your God. Your family, your friends are kind of associates that come along, but essentially your relationship with your God. And nobody else knows that. Now, challenge in that is this. If your relationship with any human being goes sideways, bad ways, wrong ways, the fault goes about 50-50 or 51-49. Between my relationship with my God, when it goes wrong, 100% on me. Why? Well, that's the thing. God never changes, meaning God's always loving. God's the way it is. God is not reactive. God's not emotional. God doesn't have any unrealistic expectations of us either. So we choose to go this way or that way, then that kind of damages my relationship with my God. Meaning, when I accuse God that, God, why are you so far away from me? God's probably crying out to me saying, you went too far away from me. That's why you cannot hear me. So if you connect that to even the story of Cain to the chapter 2 of Genesis, second creation of human, that God intended a tiller to the ground so that God can create. So human beings, in a way, were created as assistant to God to make this earth's beautiful place, as the tiller of the ground. Cain was the tiller of the ground, farmer. But because of his anger, he shed innocent blood, so that the ground was cursed because of that act. The harshness of life came into existence because of that choice. So, essentially, these Bible studies reflect on very core, essential motives, or even tendencies that kind of lies deep within our human nature, that what causes us essentially to have, in Buddhistic way, suffering, pain. First one was about wanting to possess, own things that's not mine. Now, second is, this one is about what? In a way of saying that Cain wanted to do whatever the way he likes to do, and God's supposed to just accept it. But God didn't. And it didn't go right way the way he wanted. Now, he felt angry and thinking, oh, God accepted his offering, so if I get rid of him, God had no other choice. What kind of logic is this? Right? Anger's thinking. So that's another thing that God is telling us. We could have these kind of tendencies that could make us to make wrong choices, leading us to the mistakes. So, telling us all these stories, God is not about judging us, punishing us, making us feel guilty. Instead, in my understanding, God is inviting us to reflect deeply upon these and its reflections in our own nature, on my own heart, and my own motivations, the reasons why I do things, why I choose to do things. And at this text, especially when I get angry. So if you forget everything else today, just remember this question to ask yourself. Why am I angry right now? When you're angry. See, if you can stop yourself being angry when you're about to get angry, you can ask this question, your anger may subside. And you can maybe regain your calmness. You may do the same thing, but if you're doing it with anger and if you do it without anger, I think result is amazingly different. And you don't need to do anything with anger. You can get angry, that's fine. But when you do the things, you do it without anger. So, now I'd like to invite all of you with this Gong meditation. And yes, this is the time that I suggest you that, okay, try to forget everything that I shared with you today. Yes, just let them all go. Okay, just forget about that. If that happens to be important to you, you may remember it. If you don't remember anything, that's good too. But let us now just pay attention to the sound of the gong, and as the sound comes to your body and the mind at the same time, let it wash you so that you can have calmer mind. Okay? So let us close our eyes and listen to the sound of gong. Keep your eyes closed and let us just sit in silence. Embrace the silence. Just feel the space, your breathing. open your eyes. So we do this again as the ritualistic reminder that as all that we receive is gift of God, and we're willing to give something back to God, and that has to be actualized in our actions. If you have prepared something for this church today, that's wonderful and thankful. If not, that's also wonderful and thankful. But if you have a mind, your willingness to give back to God, I encourage you to think about it and actualize it in some way, in some place. Because that's actually joy for you, your spiritual journey. May you be blessings by become blessings to each other. May you be loved by the way you love others. And may you continue your journey toward your Creator from now and forevermore. Amen.